Ma'am, do you still live here? Neighbors said nobody has seen you outside in months.
Yes, officer, this is my home.
Well, the yard is completely overgrown. You need to clear it before the city notices. Ma'am, can I clear the front path and help you with these weeds?
I can't pay you, son. I don't have any money left for this.
You don't have to pay me a dime. Just please be careful and take a rest.
Police asked the old woman, "Ma'am, do you still live here?" Because neighbors said nobody had seen her outside in months. When I pulled up with my equipment, a police officer was standing near the porch, questioning an elderly woman who stood framed in the doorway, leaning heavily on a wooden cane. The yard was completely swallowed by tall, wild grass. The concrete walkway had completely vanished beneath thick layers of dirt and weeds. Bushes blocked the windows, and wild vines wrapped tightly around the porch railing. From the street, the property looked entirely abandoned, forgotten by time and everyone else. But she stood right there in the doorway, looking at the officer with tired, unyielding eyes, and said, "Yes, officer, this is my home." I stepped out of my truck, walked up the edge of the overgrown path, and asked if I could help clear the front path and the weeds for her. She looked startled, her wrinkled face flushing with deep embarrassment as she murmured, "I can't pay you, son." I smiled gently and told her she didn't have to pay me a dime. That was when her expression shifted from embarrassment to a quiet, heartbreaking anxiety. She pointed a shaking finger toward the side of the house near a small, weathered white mailbox almost entirely choked by bushes, and whispered, "Then please be careful over there. There's a little box I keep. Please don't let it break." Her name was Mrs. Clara. As I began working, she slowly told me her story, and the pieces of her life began to unfold like pages from a forgotten book. Decades ago, she and her husband had built their entire world inside those walls. But after her husband passed away, grief settled into the house like dust. To cope with the overwhelming silence, Mrs. Clara started a quiet tradition. Following the loss of her mother, she would write a heartfelt letter, fold it tightly, and place it inside that small white mailbox by the side of the house, sitting nearby just to feel a little less alone. Soon, neighbors going through their own silent struggles noticed what she was doing. A young boy left a letter there after his dog passed away. A grieving mother stopped by to leave a note for a child she had lost. A local veteran left a message for a friend who never came back from overseas. Nobody had to explain anything. They just wrote down what hurt, placed it inside the little mailbox, and walked away. Mrs. Clara and her husband never read those letters. Instead, every month, they collected them, buried them respectfully in the backyard garden, and planted flowers over them, believing that grief needed somewhere safe to rest. After her husband passed, Mrs. Clara tried to keep the mailbox and the path clear with her own hands. But as the months dragged on, her knees grew worse, her hands weakened, and the physical burden became too heavy. Then, one afternoon, she fell while trying to reach the overgrown bushes, and after that, the grass grew faster than she could ever fight. The mailbox disappeared behind a wall of green, and the town began to look at her home as just an eyesore, a neglected property ripe for complaints. Mrs. Clara whispered with a breaking voice, "I thought people stopped caring. I was so afraid the letters would be forgotten, and with them, everyone's pain." That hit me hard. I realized this wasn't just about cutting grass or avoiding a city fine. It was about protecting a sanctuary of human sorrow and love. So, I started clearing the walkway first, moving slowly and carefully. I cut the grass low, pulled the thick vines away by hand, and trimmed tightly around the buried post. Halfway down the side wall, my gloved hand brushed against something metallic. I pulled the branches back, and there it was, the small white mailbox, faded and scratched, but still standing. Mrs. Clara covered her mouth, her hands shaking too much. So, she asked me to open it. Inside was a single old envelope wrapped tightly in plastic. Just then, a young man walking by stopped dead in his tracks at the curb. He stared at the newly uncovered mailbox, his eyes widening in shock. He whispered, Is that still here?" Mrs. Clara nodded gently with tears in her eyes. The young man said, "I left a letter there after my mom passed away years ago. I never forgot this house." He reached into his pocket, pulled out a fresh, folded note, and added it to the box. Before I packed up my equipment, Mrs. Clara pointed toward the backyard and whispered, "The cedar chest is back there. I haven't seen it since my husband died." So, I picked up my tools and followed her toward the gate, ready to reveal whatever memories were waiting for us in the back. May God bless and protect all those who carry quiet grief, and to see how far this story travels, please comment the name of the city or country you are watching from right now.